It was just another morning after a night of heavy rain. I was walking toward the company gate when a luxury car sped through a puddle and splashed muddy water all over me, right in front of my coworkers. She didn't apologize. She laughed, mocked me. I stood there, soaked to the bone, shivering from cold and humiliation. I had to go home and change. I missed a major client meeting, got scolded by my boss, but someone powerful had seen everything. He didn't speak up, didn't comfort me. He just silently changed my life. And the woman who humiliated me that day? One day, she had to bow her head to a truth she never saw coming. What happened next? I've never told anyone. Until now, I was just a project assistant, rushing to the office. One splash of dirty water, and everything changed. The woman who mocked me, she had no clue. But someone powerful was watching from the shadows. It was a quiet morning, the kind that follows a night of heavy rain. The sky was dull gray. Puddles of muddy water sat outside the gates of Sterling & Co., reflecting the pale glow of neon lights from the glass tower above. My name is Isabella Carter. I'm 28, half Brazilian, half American. People say I have naturally tan skin and a kind of simple, unpolished beauty. Nothing fancy, but warm and grounded. I walked quickly down the sidewalk, my heels clicking with every step. A fitted cream dress hugged my body. My trench coat danced lightly in the breeze, and in my arms I clutched a thick folder, my weapon for the big meeting with the New York clients. Ever wonder if one moment could flip your entire life upside down? That morning, I'd chosen my outfit carefully. The hem of my dress was slightly frayed, but it still looked professional. My heels, worn down, but I'd polished them the night before until they shone. I walked with purpose, eyes sharp. It was my first chance to prove myself at Sterling & Co., a legacy-run powerhouse where every second mattered. Right in front of the main gate, I heard it. An engine, a slick black Porsche shot past, tires slamming through a huge puddle at the curb, and in a single awful moment, dark, filthy water exploded all over me. My face soaked, my dress clinging to my skin, my documents dripping mud. The stench of wet dirt and motor oil hit me like a punch. The Porsche came to a stop, its door opened. Red Louboutin heels touched the pavement. Sienna Prescott, head of PR, daughter of the company's VP. She narrowed her eyes behind oversized sunglasses. Seriously? She scoffed. That cheap dress couldn't even handle a splash? Her tone was icy. Mocking. People like you should be used to being dirty. I froze. My lips trembled. My eyes stung. But I didn't cry. You should be more careful driving near the sidewalk, I said, my voice shaking but steady enough. You owe me an apology. She let out a sharp laugh, lowered her sunglasses, and looked me up and down like I was trash stuck to her bumper. Apologize? She smirked. You think I have time to say sorry to someone who looks like they just crawled out of a sewer? Stay out of my way next time. She flipped her hair, got back in the car, and sped off. The sound of her engine echoed through the iron gate. My cheeks burned with shame. My chest tightened. I saw a few coworkers nearby glance over. They didn't say anything, just whispered. What none of them noticed was the black Range Rover parked near the entrance, its tinted window slightly lowered. Inside sat Aiden Sterling, 32, CEO of the company, just back from London. He saw it all. The water, the mockery, the look on my face. He narrowed his eyes. He knew Sienna well, her ambition, her public charm, and her ego behind closed doors. But she had no idea that someone who didn't tolerate injustice had been watching her. He picked up his phone. His voice was low, calm. Find out who the woman is, the one Sienna splashed outside the gate. I want everything. Back inside, I clutched the soggy folder, trying to breathe. How am I supposed to present like this? I thought. They'll think I don't even respect them. I rushed to the nearest bus stop, hoping I could get home in time to change. But by the time I made it back, I was already late. The meeting had gone sideways. My manager stepped in to replace me and completely botched the presentation. The clients looked irritated. And the blame? It landed squarely on me. It felt like someone had thrown another bucket of cold water straight at my face. I stood still in the lobby, hands trembling as I tried to wipe the stains off the folder. But inside, I was hurting. I thought about my mom, a woman who fought cancer and still told me, no matter what happens, you keep walking. I checked my phone. There was a message from the hospital. She was recovering after her latest treatment, but she still needed me. I couldn't lose this job. I couldn't afford to. So I bit down on my lip, started straightening out the wet, crumpled papers, trying to salvage what I could. But deep down, under all the noise and pressure and shame, one quiet thought wouldn't leave me. Does anyone even see me? Meanwhile, Aiden Sterling sat in his top-floor office at Sterling & Co., a sleek tower in the heart of downtown. He wasn't just any man. He was the youngest CEO in the company's history, a quiet billionaire who preferred watching over speaking. His assistant Harper walked in and handed him the file he had requested. Her name is Isabella Carter, 28 years old, project assistant, lives on the West Side, MBA from NYU. She once deferred a Columbia scholarship to care for her mother during cancer treatment. Aiden glanced down at the photo clipped to the file. Isabella, smiling softly beside an older woman, likely her mother. He tapped the photo with his finger. She didn't deserve that, he murmured. Harper raised an eyebrow. Would you like me to do something? Aiden looked up. Yes, but not yet. Let's observe a little longer. Not far from there, Sienna Prescott sat in her PR office, scrolling through campaign reports and emails from partners. As head of PR for Sterling & Co. and the daughter of the company's VP, she took great pride in the strategies that kept the company's name on every industry list. She took a sip of coffee and tapped record on a voice message to Lila, her best friend and media director for a luxury brand. She was standing too close to the curb, Lila, Sienna said, her bright red lips curling into a grin. She should be thanking me for not running over her foot. Lila replied instantly, her voice full of playful admiration. Well, Sienna, you've never let anyone stand in your way, have you? Sienna smiled and didn't bother looking back. In her world, life was about winners and losers, and she was always on the winning side. But back inside Sterling & Co., Isabella's day dragged on heavy. Every time she bent over a spreadsheet or sorted a file, the weight of that failed meeting pressed down on her again. Still, she kept her head high, working quietly, whispering to herself, just get through today. By midday, she sat alone in the break room, unwrapping a modest lunch. A sandwich and a bottle of water. Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened the wrapper. She glanced at her phone, checking for any messages from the hospital. A new one had arrived. Her mom had finished the final round of chemo. Her condition was improving. But the worry didn't go away. Aiden stepped out of a meeting, scrolling through internal reports on his tablet. As he passed by the break room, his eyes landed on Isabella. She was eating slowly, small, measured bites, as if trying to stretch every moment of that humble meal. No makeup, no pretense, just a woman life kept testing, but who refused to break. Something stirred in him. He didn't really know her, but he remembered her, not just from this morning, but from that moment days ago when she had quietly shared her breakfast with a homeless man outside the building. And somehow, that stayed with him. He walked away quietly, but a plan had already started forming in his mind. She doesn't know it yet, he thought, but her story is about to change. The next morning I showed up at Sterling & Co. like usual, still wearing the same old dress, the one that hadn't been ruined, the one that hadn't soaked in mud and shame. The other was still soaking in a bucket back home. I opened my locker and froze. There was a small paper bag inside. Inside it, a fresh set of printed reports, a steaming hot lunch in a container, and a folded note. For the girl who works with care even when the world isn't kind. I blinked, looked around. No one seemed to notice. I opened the container. The smell of grilled meat and roasted vegetables filled the air. I hadn't had a warm lunch like that in weeks. I didn't know who had left it. But for the first time in a long time, I smiled. From his office upstairs, Aiden reviewed internal emails quietly, including the one he'd sent to Harper asking her to arrange the bag. When she messaged back with Isabella's reaction, he gave a small, satisfied nod. Small steps, he whispered. That afternoon, he sent me an email directly. I'd like the original report from you. Meeting the client again tomorrow morning. The next morning, I walked into the conference room, heart pounding but eyes steady. I presented the report clearly and confidently. Every number, every insight, explained with precision and purpose. The clients nodded and signed the deal right there at the table. Aiden stood at the back of the room watching. He saw it, what I could do when I wasn't spoken over, when no one else was representing my work. when I had space to lead on my own. After the meeting, Aiden called in a young IT analyst named Ryan. "How's that last report going?" he asked. Ryan shifted uncomfortably, then admitted, "Honestly, it's thanks to Isabella, sir. I turned it in late, and she stayed over the weekend fixing the formulas. She said, 'This is your job, but if you fail, no one wins. Do it right.'" Aiden nodded. There was a look in his eyes, respect, clear and quiet. Meanwhile, in another wing of the building, Sienna was busy leading a campaign meeting, bragging about her newest PR rollout, completely unaware that the tides inside Sterling & Co. were starting to shift. The boardroom burst into applause. Everyone was cheering for the new PR strategy. Sienna Prescott stood in the center, smiling like she owned the whole world. At the back of the room sat Claire Sterling, Aiden's younger sister. She clapped politely, not realizing just yet who her so-called friend really was. But once the conference room doors shut, Claire turned to the team, her tone sharp as glass. "This chart's missing last quarter's data. Who did this? Fix it now, or find another job." No one said a word. That was Sienna's world, slick, cold, cutthroat, a world of masks and people too afraid to remove theirs. But that world was about to shift. 3 weeks after that client meeting, Aiden picked up his phone in his top-floor office. His voice was calm but firm. "I want her promoted." The head of HR hesitated. "To what position, sir?" "Personal assistant to the CEO, keep it quiet, but she's just a project secretary." Aiden didn't blink. "She's earned it." I was organizing files in the front lobby when the head of HR walked up to me. "Isabella Carter?" he asked, glancing at the clipboard in his hands. "Yes, sir," I replied, nerves kicking in. "You've been reassigned. Starting tomorrow, you're the CEO's personal assistant. Higher salary, more responsibility." My eyes widened. "Sir, are you sure?" "I didn't apply." He cut in. "It's approved. Congratulations." I nodded. "Thank you, sir." As I walked away, I heard the whispers start. "Personal assistant? Seriously? Who's she connected to upstairs? Must be something shady." I heard every word, but I stayed quiet. I didn't know why my life was suddenly changing. But deep down, I felt something warm and steady start to rise inside me. That night, I texted Mom the news. She replied instantly. "You deserve this, Bella." Meanwhile, Aiden kept an eye on my work behind the scenes, reading every report I sent, every line precise, every number checked, every task handled like it mattered. That same evening, Sienna found an unmarked envelope on her office desk. Inside was a blurry photo, but clear enough to see her Porsche splashing muddy water onto me. A sticky note was attached. "Not everyone forgets." She squinted, her voice a low hiss. "What kind of sick joke is this?" She tore it up and tossed it, but her chest tightened. For the first time, Sienna Prescott didn't feel untouchable. Meanwhile, I opened my locker and found another note. "Keep shining. The world sees you, even when others pretend they don't." I stared at it, confused. Moved. I had no idea who was behind the gifts, but for the first time, I hoped it came from a good place. That morning, I stepped into the CEO's private office for the very first time. The space smelled faintly of coffee. Soft light poured in through the tall windows. I dove into the day's work, scheduling, emails, every detail spotless. Aiden sat behind his desk, reviewing a report I'd just submitted. Then he called me in. "Miss Carter, this report looks solid. Did you cross-check the numbers with finance?" I nodded. "Yes, sir. I confirmed with Ryan this morning." He paused. "How long have you been here?" "Almost a year," I replied. "It's been tough, but I've given it everything." His eyes lingered on mine. "Do you like this job?" I hesitated. "I'm not sure anyone dreams of becoming a secretary, but I'm grateful, and I want to do it well." A faint smile crossed his face. "You're doing more than well. You shine." I smiled back softly. "Thank you, sir. I'm just trying to do it right." He didn't tell me he was the one who gave me this chance. He just nodded and let me get back to work. The next afternoon, Sienna stormed into my office. Her face fell the moment she heard I'd been promoted. Boiling inside, she dropped a thick stack of documents on my desk. "Done by 5. If you can't keep up, don't bother showing up." I clenched my jaw. Stayed until midnight, forehead damp with sweat, but I finished every page. The new role was exhausting. I often worked late. One night, Aiden and I ended up sharing my cheap takeout after hours. We ducked into a street vendor's stall near the office, grill smoke swirling around us. He laughed, picking up a skewer. "It's been ages since I've had this. Used to eat stuff like this with my family, all squeezed around a folding table on the sidewalk. I smiled. Something about the way he said it made the air feel warmer. For the first time, I didn't feel alone. A few weeks after my promotion, the whispers began. Sienna Prescott, furious that Aiden had started noticing me, began spreading rumors across Sterling and Co. She only got the job because of some special relationship, she murmured to coworkers in the break room. The tension in the office grew heavier by the day. But truth is, even Sienna was starting to unravel. The photo of her Porsche splashing water on me had surfaced on the internal company board. People started whispering, connecting dots. That night, at a swanky restaurant, she sipped red wine, voice cold as ice. "Someone's targeting me," she said. "That photo and the chatter online. They want me out." Her father, VP of the company, took a slow sip of whiskey. "You sure that's not your car?" Her shoulders stiffened. "It was an accident. I didn't mean to." He stared back, unreadable. "Or maybe you're finally paying for what you've done." Her jaw tightened. "Come on, I didn't do anything wrong." But deep down, she knew. She had tried to crush me, out of envy, out of power. At work, the whispers found me too. "She moved up fast, didn't she? Must have known someone high up." I heard them, all of it. But I stayed focused. A few nights before the company's big bid presentation, Aiden and I stayed late finalizing the confidential file. He held on to the original. Sienna was in charge of sealing the backup. But on bid day, our competitor showed up with an identical proposal, just cheaper. We lost. Big. An internal investigation was launched, and just like that, the blame shifted. "Isabella prepared the file," Sienna said in the meeting, her tone sharp. "Who knows what she did behind our backs?" I stood there, heart pounding, eyes all over me, voices low. She probably slept her way up. I took a breath, voice steady but clenched. "I handed the file to Mr. Sterling last night. No one else had access. You're welcome to check the edit log and office cameras." I looked straight at Sienna. She smirked, acting untouched. Aiden reviewed the camera footage and system logs. Sienna had accessed the file after sealing it. He called her into his office. "I held the original," he said, calm but sharp. "Isabella couldn't have leaked it. If you did, own it. I'll keep it internal. No lawyers involved." She froze. Eyes dropped. "I didn't know you had the original." At the same time, a video began circulating across our company feed. Her Porsche, the splash, me. Caption: "Money doesn't buy decency." It spread like wildfire. Her face wasn't shown, but people connected the dots. The backlash hit hard. The board held an emergency meeting. Between the document breach and the video, Sienna was asked to resign. By morning, her name was wiped from the company system. She stepped out of the building, eyes hollow. Her dream to become Mrs. CEO, to rule alongside Aiden, shattered. Her father said nothing. The office went silent. I was cleared, but still shaken. Aiden read through the internal reports. "She still doesn't know I helped her," he thought to himself. Sienna scrolled through the company board before logging out. When she saw the video again, she slammed her palm on the table. "Who the hell posted this?" she snapped at Lila. Lila looked away. "Maybe you owe someone an apology." Sienna scoffed. "Apologize? To some assistant? I don't even remember her face." But that night, in her luxury apartment that suddenly felt too big, she stared at an old family photo, and something hurt. For the first time, she wondered if ambition had cost her everything. Back at the office, a manager nodded at me. A few coworkers smiled. The side eyes faded, slowly replaced by recognition, even if some stayed wary. That evening, Aiden and I stopped by the same street stall near the office. Smoke curled up from the grill, the air thick with roasted spice. "Smells like home," he said softly. "My mom used to bring us to places like this. Crowded tables, tiny stools, and big laughs." I looked at him, grateful for a calm night after the storm. "You make this place feel less like cold boardrooms," I told him, smiling. His eyes lit up. "And you remind me what's worth holding on to." I walked into Sterling and Co., a little taller than before, a little steadier. After the leak scandal, those piercing looks that used to crush me were slowly replaced with nods, quiet respect. Not all of them, but enough to feel the shift. Inside the office, Aiden looked up from his desk. His voice was calm, warm. "Isabella, I saw you that day, when the car splashed water on you outside the gate." He held my gaze. "Your dress was soaked, but you walked, head high. You didn't deserve that, and I haven't been able to forget it." My heart skipped. I wasn't ready for this. You don't have to say anything, he added with a slight smile. Just know that I see you, not as a secretary, as you. Then he pushed a file across the table. I want you to lead the new PR campaign. This is your chance to shine. I stared at the folder in my hands. Hope stirred. Real hope. For the first time, someone like Aiden Sterling was treating me like an equal. Not a boss, not a rescuer, someone who saw my heart, and still a part of me hesitated. What if it all disappeared, like so many promises before? Why me? I asked, voice barely steady. He answered softly, because you never ask for anything, but you've earned everything. I walked out of his office, head spinning, but just as I reached the front gate, a familiar Porsche pulled up. The window rolled down. Sienna Prescott, no longer an employee here, still wearing designer sunglasses like armor. Isabella, right? She said, mocking. You've stirred up quite a mess, made me the villain. I stood straight. I didn't do anything. I just did my job. She scoffed. You think Aiden actually cares? He's just playing. Men like him always get bored. Then she hit the gas, leaving behind a cloud of fumes and a quiet sting. I stood there, shaken but not broken. The next day at the cafe in our building, Aiden was already waiting, a hot latte in front of him. I have something for you, he said, sliding another folder across the table. This campaign is your first step to lead the communications department. If it works, they'll all see you're more than just a secretary. I looked at him. My hands trembled a little. Why do you believe in me so much? His eyes locked with mine. Because I see my mother in you. She worked in a factory, never asked for anything, but she built everything I am today. He smiled. You have that same strength. From a distance, Sienna stood in the shadows, pretending to collect her personal things. Her eyes burned. She'd lost everything. The job, the dream of becoming the CEO's wife, her father's respect. Now, watching Isabella rise, a new fire lit inside her. The water splash was never just an accident. It had started something she couldn't stop. Late that night, Aiden leaned back in his chair, watching Isabella sort through files. Something about her. The quiet dedication, the sharp mind, the kindness that asked for nothing. He took a breath. Isabella, he said softly, I've thought about this for a long time. You're not just an incredible partner at work, you make me feel alive. He paused. That day you got splashed outside, all I wanted was to protect you. And now I realize, I need you. Not just here, everywhere. Will you walk with me through every puddle life throws our way? She looked up, eyes wide. Then came a warm smile. So it's not just your work habits changing, your dinner choices too? He laughed out loud. It's been ages since I had street food, but you reminded me of when my whole family crowded around folding tables like those. Her voice softened. That day I got splashed, I thought no one cared. But now, you're showing me a puddle can lead to something bigger. That night, Isabella sat on her small balcony, a PR strategy folder in hand. City lights flickered below. She thought of her mother, the woman who folded laundry late into the night just to keep her in college. Her mother was better now, but the memories of her cancer battle still lingered. The nights Isabella cried quietly, the days she worked through pain. All of it was worth it now. Aiden appeared, carrying 2 cups of hot cocoa. You look deep in thought, he said, handing her a cup. She smiled, just wondering, is this real? He nodded. You deserve it, Isabella, every bit of it. She looked at him, surprised by the softness in his voice. I used to think people like you didn't even see me. Aiden sighed, his gaze drifting to the skyline. I wasn't always this way, but you remind me of my mother. She used to say, people like you are the ones who build the world. She gripped the cup tighter, heart glowing. For the first time, she believed she could go farther than she ever dreamed. It happened during our monthly staff meeting. Aiden stood at the front of the room. His voice was steady, confident. Isabella Carter didn't just lead our latest PR campaign. As of today, she's officially our new head of PR. The room broke into applause, but I caught the whispers behind it. That fast? Something's fishy. She must have done more than just work hard. I kept my face calm. Let the noise roll off. Some people saw my effort, some never would. Miles away, in her designer home, Sienna Prescott read a text from a former coworker. Isabella just got promoted. She gripped her phone, eyes sharp with rage. Seconds later, she called Claire Sterling. Aiden's younger sister, and one of her old rich girls' circle. Claire, she's a gold digger. I told you, girls like her always aim for men like Aiden. This is what I warned you about. At that very moment, Sienna stormed into her father's office, vice president of the company. Her Louboutins clicked hard against the floor. Why is everyone talking about her? She snapped. Her father looked up, cool, unshaken. Because she earned it, Sienna. You? Maybe it's time you grew up. That stare, that silence from colleagues ever since her firing. It said more than any words. That evening, Aiden walked me home. West Side apartments, soft streetlights glowing overhead. We laughed quietly, our steps in sync. The front gate creaked. And then Mom, I called out. She stepped out with silvering hair and a beaming smile. I heard you laughing, figured you were home. She turned to Aiden, eyes warm. This young man, he has an honest face. I like that. He smiled and bowed slightly. I'm Aiden. It's a pleasure, ma'am. I leaned closer, whispering, she's everything to me. His eyes softened. I could feel his heart in that silence. Later that night, Mom and I sat at the kitchen table. Warm light. 2 mugs of tea. She reached for my hand. He's a good man, Isabella. I can see it in how he looks at you. You deserve someone who stands beside you. I blinked back tears. When you were in the hospital, I was so scared. I thought I'd lose you, but you became the reason I'm strong. She smiled gently. I'm still here, but now it's your time, your path with him. Back at work, my story started to spread. An internal email shared my journey from assistant to PR lead. Colleagues started chiming in. She works with heart. She earned this. Sterling & Co. Cinderella. I didn't know what to say. I never wanted the spotlight, just wanted to do good work. I remembered the time I split my lunch with a tech guy while we stayed late fixing a data issue. It's your job, I told him. But if it fails, we all lose. Little by little, they started to see me differently. It started on a rainy Tuesday. I was reviewing an internal audit report when something didn't sit right. A tiny inconsistency in the risk pricing model. Most people would have missed it, but my gut wouldn't let it go. So I stayed late, ran the numbers again, then again. By midnight, my eyes were burning. By 3 a.m., I found the flaw. It was deep inside the algorithm, a subtle miscalculation that could have cost us millions. Thanks to my MBA background, I drafted a correction model and outlined a solution. Next morning, I walked into the boardroom, slides ready, hands trembling slightly. But as I presented, something shifted. People leaned in, eyes sharpened. Even the skeptics stopped whispering. When I finished, the room went quiet, then applause. Even Richard Hayes, the man who once told others I slept my way to the top, stood up. I was wrong, Isabella. You've got real talent, no question about it. And just like that, he volunteered to back me on the next strategic project. But not everyone clapped. Sienna wasn't done. From behind the scenes, she started whispering to her old allies, those still loyal or still scared. She's after his money. Just another gold digger. She played the long game, that's all. Rumors spread, fast. That Friday morning, I heard my name in a hallway conversation. Muffled laughter, lowered voices. I pretended not to notice, but it cut deep. At lunch, Claire Sterling walked into the break room. Her voice was low, measured. Sienna says you're here for our family's money, for Aiden, for the name. I froze. Claire, I'm not. My voice cracked slightly. I care about Aiden, but not for the reasons she thinks. She didn't argue, just nodded slowly, but her eyes held doubt. From that moment, I pulled back, from Aiden, from everything. Just buried myself in work and tried to keep breathing. Aiden noticed, and unlike others, he didn't just ask, he investigated. That Sunday, he called for an all-hands meeting. Everyone came, murmuring. Then he stood at the front, face calm, eyes sharp. Let's clear the air. Isabella Carter isn't chasing my money. She didn't seduce me into giving her a title. Silence. I noticed her long before we spoke. She gave half her breakfast to a homeless man outside our gates. She kept her dignity the day someone threw water on her. She fixes other people's mistakes, catches million-dollar errors, and never asks for credit. He took a breath. I fell in love with that woman, not because of her title, but because of her heart. The room erupted in applause, and I, sitting in the back, felt tears spill quietly down my cheeks. He walked toward me, took my hand. I'm not going anywhere, he whispered. That night, a knock at the door, a bouquet of red roses, a note tucked inside. Let them talk. I love you, for exactly who you are. Aiden. I stepped onto my balcony, the city glowing beneath me, from a soaked dress and silent judgment to a leadership role and a man who saw me clearly. I wasn't done climbing, but for the first time in my life, I wasn't climbing alone. At Sterling & Co., I was no longer just the head of PR. In strategic meetings, executives turned to me. Isabella, what's your take on this campaign? The same voice they once doubted now helped shape the future of the company. People listened. Really listened. Their eyes said it all. Respect. Meanwhile, Sienna Prescott's world was crumbling. An anonymous email traced the gold digger rumor right back to her. It came from someone in her circle, a loyal insider who'd had enough. Her father, vice president of the company, called her in. His voice was ice. You didn't just smear Isabella, you embarrassed this family. He froze her accounts, took back the villa, revoked the Porsche. We'll speak again when you learn respect, he said without looking up. Sienna stood silent. No credit card, no lifeline. Just silence and a burning stare at the car outside. This isn't over, she whispered, and somewhere in her eyes a new plan sparked to life. That night, Aiden picked me up himself. No driver, no black SUV, just a modest sedan and the man I loved at the wheel. He took me to a tiny roadside diner where the lights buzzed and the menus were printed on plastic. You remind me of what matters, he said softly. Your kindness, sharing lunch, helping colleagues, staying graceful even when soaked in dirty water. That's why I love you. I looked down, blushing. I still don't know why you chose me. He reached across the table, held my hand. Because in a world full of polish, your sincerity shines the brightest. We didn't need background music, just each other. On the way home, he slowed near the exact spot where it all began. This is where she splashed you, he said. I smiled. She threw dirty water, but you gave me a chance to rise. He nodded. And you're shining. We walked in silence, fingers laced under a quiet streetlight. Now, every morning, Aiden drives to pick me up from my little apartment in West End. When I say, careful, there's a puddle, don't splash that cyclist, he laughs. That's why I've got you, better than a dashboard cam. And I realize, it was never the water that brought me down. It was resilience that lifted me up. One afternoon, Claire Sterling showed up. Her expression had changed. I grew up in privilege, she said, and for too long, I let it blind me. Aiden taught me to see what's real. I'm sorry for believing Sienna. I'm glad he has you. I smiled and pulled her into a hug. Thank you, Claire. His family is mine now, too. She nodded, and for the first time I felt fully seen, not just by him, but by the world he came from. 1 year later, Sterling & Co. hosted its 25th anniversary gala. The ballroom shimmered under chandeliers, soft live jazz filled the air, and the city's elite gathered in their finest. I walked in with my mother beside me. Mrs. Carter, guest of honor, personally invited by Aiden to recognize her quiet strength through illness. After months of fighting cancer, she stood tall beside me, glowing with pride. Her hand, warm in mine, had carried me through the worst days. You make me proud, Bella, she whispered. I wore a simple blue dress. No diamonds, no designer label, but head still turned, because my smile spoke louder than any brand. Aiden stood nearby, his gaze proud, his love quiet but clear. When the board called my name, I took a breath and stepped on stage. They handed me a framed recognition for perseverance and inspiring change. I leaned toward the mic. A year ago, I was the girl with the soaked dress, walking through whispers and doubt. I felt invisible, until one cruel act and one kind heart changed everything. The room fell silent. I'm not here because of luck. I'm here because I didn't give up, because someone believed in me before I believed in myself, and because my mother taught me, even when the world throws dirt, kindness and grit can still make you shine. I looked at Aiden. His eyes shimmered. Because kindness, I said softly, will always rise above status. The applause was thunderous. Some wiped tears. Even the staff stood straighter, like they felt seen too. After the gala, I returned to that same street corner, where it all began. The pavement had been repaved, smooth, clean, ordinary, but to me, it was sacred. I slipped off my heels and stepped barefoot onto the concrete. What are you doing? Aiden asked with a smile. I looked down at the spot where I once stood humiliated. Leaving the old me behind, I said, and stepping into who I've become. He didn't say a word, just slipped off his own shoes and walked beside me, barefoot, equal, proud. Later that night, on my apartment balcony with the city lights flickering like stars, Aiden got down on one knee, a simple ring in hand. Nothing flashy. From that puddle to tonight, you've been my light. Will you marry me, Isabella? My eyes welled. Yes, Aiden. He slid the ring onto my finger. And in that embrace, we knew, from muddy water, we had built something brilliant. Together, we moved forward. Not just as a couple, but as a living reminder that kindness, grit, and love can bloom in the unlikeliest of places. From one ugly puddle, we grew a flower so radiant the world had to stop and stare. Has Isabella's journey touched your heart? Tell us, what muddy puddle in your life turned into a blooming flower? Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another story that inspires. Help us keep bringing life-changing journeys like this to light. Your support writes the next chapter.